Look, I don't know if the fires in California were intentional, accidental, or preventable. I don't know that, but some of the numbers just don't add up. 80,000 acres, 24 death toll as of right now. By the time you watch it, maybe higher. 200 individuals have sustained injuries. 4,000 homes have been completely destroyed. $250 billion of damages. A reservoir that fits 117 million gallons of water that's been shut down for a year because the cover had a hole in it and they didn't want to fill it up, and nobody knew about this apparently, and you only had 3 tanks that each fits 1 million gallons. And then there comes a story about a man named Francis Buschetti. He's a personal assistant, lives in Palisades, has been living there for 50 years on and off, had a home for decades, gets a note last year from farmers that your homeowner's insurance is going from $4,500 to $18,000 per year, 4X. He says, I can't afford that. What am I gonna do with this? So I'm gonna go to the fair plan that California offers. He goes there, they say, we'll give it to you, but you have to cut these 10 trees. I can't even do this. This is too much work. What does he finally do? Something many people in California did. He's going bare, which means no insurance to protect your home. I'm gonna be ready for this. What happens this week? He loses his home. Done. You know what it's like? It's like having a car, you get into an accident, car is totaled, you bought this for $40,000 and you have no auto insurance. What do you do now? You're an average person that doesn't have a lot of money. Maybe you're doing your best. What do you do with that? You know how many Francis Buschettis are out there? A lot of them. This is happening in California right now everywhere, and people are wondering, how were you not prepared for this event that just happened in California? The blame is going to the leadership of California, starting with the governor, Gavin Newsom. We're going to talk about that today. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But just like you, I have a ton of questions. How the hell did this happen to the 5th largest economy in the world, the great state of California? So when you go through the timeline, just to kind of see what's going on with the timeline, here's what you notice. January 7, Palisades fire ignition, a wildfire ignited in the Palisades, rapidly spreading due to strong winds. Evacuation orders were issued for residents as the fire threatened homes and infrastructure. That's the 7th. 8th, both the Palisades and Eaton fires expanded rapidly, with the Palisades fire consuming over 23,000 acres and Eaton fire over 14,000 acres. Containment efforts were hindered by the extreme wind conditions. Preliminary reports indicated that over 12,300 structures have been damaged or destroyed by the fires, with significant impacts on residential areas and critical infrastructure. At this point, the economic impact was only $50 billion. That's a lot of money, but $50 billion. The 10th, firefighting teams, including state and federal resources, intensified efforts to contain the blazes. The Palisades fire reached 13% containment, while the Eaton fire was at 27% containment. That's when they were ordered to evacuate 150,000 residents, with emergency shelters established to accommodate displaced individuals. That's the 10th. 11th, forecast predicted continued strong Santa Ana winds with gusts up to 70 miles per hour, exacerbating fire conditions and posing challenges to containment efforts. This is when you started hearing about power outages and the running out of water. You're running out of water? Yeah. January 12th, reports emerged of looting in evacuated neighborhoods, leading to increased law enforcement presence to protect properties. And you start seeing a lot of people wearing masks. Why? Because they couldn't breathe. They weren't wearing masks because of COVID. They could not breathe. The air was that tough to breathe in. Now you have January 13th. So at this point, they're talking about the Palisades fire at 14% containment and Eaton fire at 33%. And by the way, reports everyone's talking about. They're worried the winds are about to get stronger and they don't know what's going to happen the next couple of days. So remember how we talked about the Francis Buschetti story earlier? And you look at the insurance stories. We've done a video on this multiple times the last 4 or 5 years on insurance, but watch this here. California, insurance challenges. State Farm General announced in March that it would not renew 30,000 homeowners and condominium policies, including 1626 in Pacific Palisades, when they expired. CBS San Francisco last year found that State Farm also dropped 2,000 policies in 2 other LA zip codes. Stay with me here, we're just barely getting started. State Farm last year said it was discontinuing 72,000 houses and apartments in the state, not just Palisades. Since 2019, more than 100,000 Californians have lost their insurance, according to a San Francisco Chronicle analysis of insurance data. All right. Next one, CHOP and its subsidiaries stop writing new policies for high-value homes. Where do you think the homes are in Palisades? Low value, you think it's $400,000 house? Multi-million-dollar homes. They stopped writing new policies for high-value homes with higher wildfire risk in 2021. They're like, we're out of here after the 2020 fires that took place. Allstate stopped writing new policies in 2022. Tokyo Marine American Insurance Company and its subsidiary Trans-Pacific Insurance Company pulled out of the state last year. We're not even doing it. Now, while this is happening, Mercury Insurance offered to take those policies over. Liberty Mutual was sued last month by a homeowner who accused the insurer of dropping her over a bogus claim that her roof had mold damage. The FAIR Plan in California, which we've talked about a lot, a last resort insurance pool, which now covers approximately 452,000 policies, up from 203 4 years ago. By the way, the FAIR Act tells insurance companies, if you want to get all the profitable houses that are safe, you have to protect the houses that could potentially get a fire there. You have to. Insurance companies are sitting at their board meeting saying, listen, man, why are we in California? The same way they ask, why are we in Florida? Every year we get hit by hurricanes. What are we doing? They want to control. So FAIR Plan says, you can't raise it above this price. This is the price you have to say. So imagine you're like, I'm losing money every year. Why am I doing this? But if you raise it, that's what? No problem. We love your plan for FAIR. We're out of here. We're not interested. So I want you to think like you're the business owner. You're running a small homeowners insurance company. What's the purpose of the business? To be a charity? To be noble and give all the money away? Or is your job to be profitable so all your employees can have a job and you can grow your business? What do you think? You have to stay in business, right? Watch this. You tell me if it's attractive to you if California told you this. So here's a mandate for the insurers. You are the company. Insurers must offer coverage in high-risk wildfire areas. What do you want me to do? That driver right there that's got 4 accidents in the last 12 months, you have to give him insurance coverage and you can't overcharge him. But this is the only way it makes sense for me to protect this house, this car, is it's gotta be more or else it doesn't. You better do it. You don't understand, I have to make money. I got 72 employees here. You better protect them or else you're fired from the state of California. What do you think business owners are gonna do? You're forcing me to leave. You're forcing me to leave. Let me go focus on New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, other places. What am I doing here? Let me continue. Coverage must increase by 5% every 2 years until insurance cover 85% of market share in a high-risk zone. So here's the criticism of the regulation. You ready? Here's a criticism. Opponents warn premiums could increase by 40% for consumers. That's a small number. It's going to increase. But what's worse is, imagine all these insurance companies leave. You stay, and they're like, if you want me to stay, I'm gonna charge whatever I want to charge. What are you gonna do then? Then people don't buy houses. Real estate industry collapses. What are people gonna do? Think about that. Let me continue. Second one. Critics argue the rule does not require insurance to expand coverage rapidly enough, and the state did not provide a cost analysis to estimate the financial impact on homeowners. It's kind of like, yeah, listen, I think this is how much it's gonna take. Can I get an analysis on it? No, just I think here's how much it's gonna take. You're a politician, you get to make bad choices and waste taxpayers' money. On this side, we run a business. If we don't get a proper analysis on how much it's gonna cost, we're out of business. I don't get to fool my taxpayers and keep going back saying, I need more money, I need more money. I can't do that, I don't have that luxury. You do, Mr. Politician, Mrs. Politician. I don't have that. Can you please give me a breakdown? No. This is what you better do, or else the great state of California can't do business here. Tell me if this relationship makes any sense. It doesn't. So this next one here, they're saying, well, $100 million, cut from fire prevention budget before the California fires. It is correct. However, it's not fully correct. Why? Because in 2018, 2019, at that time, the budget allocated 5,829 employees at $2 billion, and they raised it to 2024, 2025 to $3.79 billion with 10,742 employees. So although they doubled it in 6 years, yes, they did. And they lowered 100 million, they did double it. So it's not like you can sit here and criticize them. No, they didn't do it. I'm gonna sit here and be very straight up with you. But the $101 million that they did cut in 2024, here's where it went. And the question I got is, where's the 46 million? Because they account for 28 million that was cut from wildfire resilience efforts by state conservancies. 12 million was from a home hardening experiment for wildfire protection. 8 million was from monitoring and research program, the Cal Fire and universities. 4 million was from the Forest Legacy Program and private land management. 3 million was from an interagency forest data hub, but that adds up to only $55 million. What I want to know is, where's the other $46 million? They don't break that down. I really want to know where the other $46 million went that you cut. The other criticism the state of California gets is that the U.S. Forest Service prescribed burning halt in California October 26, 2024. Why is this critical? Because in 2018, when you see President Trump standing right next to Newsom and talking about in other countries, they sweep the floors, literally like, we got to get rid of the brush because if it's dry and fire goes, boom, you ever seen like a dry leaf, what happens to when you put fire? It just goes so fast, right? So imagine how quickly it can spread. Them not doing this could have potentially accelerated the process of fire spreading across where the fires took place. This next issue is about the reservoirs. When you look at this chart here, when it comes down to the reservoirs, you have the Diamond Valley Reservoir, 97% total capacity. You have the Castaic Reservoir, which is 77% capacity. You have the Cachuma Reservoir, which is 89% total capacity, above the history average, all of them. And then you have the Casitas Reservoir, 96% total capacity. History average, they're always keeping it up. Right now we have this reservoir in Palisades. This is the reservoir. This is Palisades. The reservoir is roughly 1 mile away where the fire was. So let me get this straight. This reservoir, if we put up images, fits 117 million gallons of water. The stat we hear about is 3 separate tanks had up to 1 million gallons of water. This thing fits 117 million, and they've had it shut down since last February of 2024. Why did you have it shut down? So we looked it up to see what the reason was. The reason they said they shut it down is due to a torn floating cover. So think about it. Torn floating cover, they want to cover it up because of bird poop. Literally, that's their reasoning why they do that, because, you know, the virus, it can spread. They don't want it to be contaminated. But for 1 year, you don't fill it up. And apparently Gavin Newsom says he didn't know about it, and he is, you know, calling an investigation into finding out what happened over here. And a local hydrants ran dry during the fire due to low water pressure, severely hindering firefighters' efforts. But you have a reservoir there that fits 117 million gallons. Yes. And for 1 year, nothing's happened? No. Let's just say you're the boss. You know you have reservoirs. And you know California, one of the things it's famous for is what? Fires. Say you're a general of a military and you got 200 tanks. This is the front line. The enemy is there. What statistic, you're not even a general, what statistic do you want to know with your tanks? What do you want to know? Let's just kind of throw it out there. How many tank operators I got? What's the number? Oh, we got 200 tanks, but only 28 operators. How do we only have 28 operators? Is somebody asking that question? That's not a complicated question. You got 200 tanks. Yes. How many of them have enough ammunition? How much per? 200 tanks, only 180, so only less than 1 shot per, yes. Or it says 3,200. Oh, great, 16x. Okay, good, great. Are they all operable? Well, out of the 200, only 63 are working. Do you see the questions we're asking? If you're the governor of the state, don't you want to know where they're at? Because your issue is fires. And don't you want to know what the capacity is? And don't you think you would have a big alert on your board of potential crisis in the state of California? Hey, the reservoir in Palisades, where the fires happen, is at 0. It's been at 0 for 11 months. Why is it at 0? The cover is torn. When are we fixing it? We'll get to it. What do you mean we'll get to it? You either get to it now or someone's fired. What are we doing here? Where is the urgency? If there's no urgency to fix this in 11 months, it's because there was no fear of losing a job or any of that stuff. By the way, watch this. The people that were cleaning the place that have been working on this, called Layfield Group, responsible for repairs in 2022 and 2024, has not commented on the situation. They've not said anything. People will ask, what's going on over there? Yeah, we really don't want to talk about it because, you know, we just kind of don't want to talk about it. 170 million gallons. Let me ask you this. Say the reservoir was full. How much of it could it have been prevented? How many of the 8 people that currently we know that died in Palisades, because the other 16 is in Eaton? How many? How many homes could they have saved? I don't know. What do you think the number is? 23,700 acres as of right now, Palisades. You think it could have prevented 50% of it? Maybe it'll be at 11,000? You think could have prevented 5,000? Maybe it'll only be at 5,000 or 4. What do you think if we had an additional 117 million gallons? That's a fair question to ask. As a person who runs a small business, this is not complicated stuff to be asking. If this happened in free enterprise and I'm the CEO, I'm fired today, 5 minutes ago. What are you talking about? And the governor's out there smiling. Oh my God, this is going to be LA 2.0. What the hell are you smiling at? What do you mean LA 2.0? Oh my gosh. You have access to the resources to address it. This is why some people are sitting there saying they're not even questioning, this is not competency anymore. Because it's not, I need a calculus degree or math analysis to be able to do this stuff. It's basic questions. While I said it to you, did I sound smart to you? Or were you like, yeah, I would have probably asked the same questions about the tanks. Exactly. You don't need an MBA to ask those basic questions about the tanks if we're general. Just like, I don't need complicated skill sets to ask, why is the reservoir empty in the area that there's a ton of fires? And my Hollywood famous celebrities are living there. At least since you like to go to those nice restaurants, you pissed off the people that invite you to the party. Like, This is why people like me and people like you who are still watching this video are asking these simple questions. By the way, apparently there's 1,300 reservoirs in the state of California. What I would want to know is if you're watching this yourself, is investigate it even deeper. Yourself sitting there saying, why was this empty for a year? Michael Schellenberger, who was on Tucker Carlson, interviews other guys in California when it comes down to reservoirs like this. He says, if they're empty for weeks, we're panicking. We can't wait to fill it up. Where was the urgency with this year? So I'd be curious. I'd investigate it continuously to find out more about it. While this is taking place, then you hear about prison inmates risking their lives, fighting LA fires for just $1 an hour. Some people are saying that's not true, that's not this, that's what they're doing. Then you get 1,000 California prison inmates and then firefighters coming here from Mexico to help out. You heard stories from Nevada, you heard stories from 300 firefighters coming from Oregon to help out with 75 engines. Everybody is trying to, even Zelensky offered 150, I believe, firefighters to come and help the France of America called California. He even wanted to help out. That's how bad it is right now over there, where people are wanting to contribute to prevent this fire from extending even worse than what it is right now. So look, at this point, if you've seen the videos, there's videos claiming that all the fires got started at the same time. There's videos you see that one of the fires in Eaton got started because of Edison, and Edison may be going through a lawsuit right now. And then you have this other story with the Resnick family. Remember how I talked about the reservoir that's got 117 million gallons of water? The Resnick family in California, $8 billion net worth. Good for them. I celebrate anybody's success. But do you know how much water they own in their facility in the state of California? You ready for this number? Not 1 billion gallons, not 10 billion gallons, not 100 billion gallons, 500 billion gallons of water. Do you remember the movie Big Short, where at the end Michael Burry says, now after everything that's going on, my focus is now on water? You know how many people say the future wars will be because of water? This family has 500 billion gallons of water. And with the help of Dianne Feinstein in 1994, they were able to move it from being essentially the state's water, we're using it for the state, to personal and more agricultural, like we're gonna use it for these following reasons. They were able to convince Dianne Feinstein to help them out with this agreement. It was called the Monterey Agreement, if I'm not mistaken, the Monterey Amendments. You can look it up and study. But the point is this, lots of questions. I'm going through seeing what some families did that was working effectively. Michael Johnson, the 4-time gold medalist, hired a person that come in, paid $5,000 a year to this machine that pumps water out of his pool into the house to prevent the fires from affecting the house. You saw a couple builders that are now building their house in a certain way with certain guidelines to prevent fires from spreading. And you see a lot of pictures of homes that are standalone. In the middle of the fire, this house made it. And I'm looking to see, how did you build this house for that to... There's gonna be so many different things, but if I was a governor of California, I have no interest, but if I was a governor of California, I would host a meeting with the biggest problem solvers, and I would sit down and say, hey, you started a company, it's now worth 12 billion. You started a company, now worth 2.8 billion. You started a company, now it's 1.7 billion. You started a company, now it's $100 billion. How do you solve this fire problem in the state of California? Can we raise $1 billion and give that money to some startup entrepreneurs to find ways to prevent this from happening ever again, since we have the smartest people there? Common sense stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just hold the meetings and bring them together. When Trump talked about Musk, and he says, when I'm sitting there talking to Musk, I see how he thinks and how he solves problems. Trump is not an engineer. Trump doesn't know how to code. Trump doesn't know what happens with the Tesla, how do you build a car, and all these other stuff. He's not somebody that specializes in this, but he knows how to bring all the brains together to solve some of the biggest world problems ran by the #1 country in the world. If there's anybody's example Newsom needs to follow right now, it's President Trump. You know why? Because January 20th is inauguration. And guess who's talking about going to California next week? After inauguration, Donald J. Trump. What do you think that's gonna look like with Trump standing there next to Newsom? What do you think Newsom's body language is going to be when Trump is there saying, I told you this in 2018? That is coming soon, very soon. Accountability needs to happen there. Imagine if the president, who's the president of the United States, is able to address things in California to fix it faster than a governor who's been the governor there for 6 years. Since 2019, and he's been the lieutenant governor from 2011 to 2018, 2019, 8 years. This guy's had influence in the state of California directly in the governorship position since 2011. That's a long time. So, future looks bright, fully believe it. Only the paranoid survive. That's why we're investigating this stuff. And then everybody that watched this, if this is important to you, one, share it with as many people as possible, ask as many questions, do your own due diligence, and make everybody smarter around you. We need to get to the bottom of what happened to the great state of California. If you got value out of the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, If you've never seen the video we did on the challenges that California faces with insurance, if you've never seen it, or if you've never seen a video that I did with insurance talking about the great state of Florida, I'm gonna put both of them up here. Pick and choose which one you wanna watch because you need to get smarter on this topic. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.